So welcome back to the first case for this week of February Pride. In this case, we are going to South Carolina, specifically Lexington, South Carolina. So not Kentucky, but South Carolina. I don't think I've ever covered a case out of South Carolina. I know I've covered a case where like the killers have like went to South Carolina at least in 2 separate occasions. So I don't know what they got in South Carolina going on where people think, okay, I can just go here, like I won't get caught. But yeah. And so if I haven't covered South Carolina case before, I guess it's the first one. This case is not as well known, even though it does involve the prestigious University, Harvard. I personally never thought I would have to cover 2 cases involving a Harvard murder, at least that involve a female as the killer. Of course, if you want to hear about the first one, I'll have a link down below for you because I've already covered that one a while back. That happened in like 1995, I do believe. However, this case happens in 1990, and while it does not take place on the actual Harvard campus, Harvard University does eventually come to the story. So with that being said, let me get my rambling, give you what I know, sources, and let's go get started.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares. See me right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So of course we're gonna start with Gina. Gina Grant was born sometime in 1976. We ain't got an exact date, despite this case being somewhat well known. She has an older sister named Dana. I think that's how you pronounce that. D-A-N-A, Dana, yeah. That's pretty much all we know about Dana. So nothing against Dana, it's just that's pretty much all we know. Because the story mostly revolves around Gina and her mom, Dorothy. So from a young age, her father did want her to go to college. And not just any college, Harvard University, because you know, apparently... So, of course, not just any university or college. He wanted to go to Harvard because apparently he went to Harvard and he wanted to keep the family tradition of Harvard going. So, I guess I wasn't sure because Dana is older. So, I don't know if, like, she didn't have the good grades to get into Harvard because, you know, like, really strict and there's, like, a very low acceptance rate when it comes to Harvard. And he had more faith in Gina because apparently she had better grades. I don't know. It didn't say. All I know is he wanted Gina to go to college. He wanted Gina to go to Harvard, and she was striving to go to Harvard. Sadly, the father would die of cancer right before she turns 12. So she's like 11, but it's like right for her 12th birthday. So then, of course, the father's death, because Dorothy, or Dot, because that was her nickname, she basically becomes an alcoholic as a result of the father's death. And so Dorothy Mayfield, who was the mother, she was born on August 1st, 1947. A little bit about her. She was the executive assistant of the personnel department of the North Carolina National Bank. So then, of course, Gina tries to make the best of it, and she strives at everything, you know, getting to Harvard like Dad wanted. And she had straight A's, was the first female president at the school, and a cheerleader. But apparently the cheerleader part, apparently she was only a cheerleader in like middle school, but she still apparently did cheerleading, So when she's 14, she meets this guy named Jack Hook. We ain't got a date of birth on him, but apparently at the time this happened, when they met, he was 15, she was 14. He'd already had a criminal record. And Gina's supposed to be like the good girl, so this is the exact opposite of the guy she need to be dating. So she takes him home to meet Dorothy, because I guess she thought Dorothy was going to approve. Dorothy obviously saw right through Jack, was like, he ain't good for you, he's trouble, which he was. And she, I guess like, because you know, teenagers, this made her want to see Jack even more, and she would sneak Jack in regularly, and Dawn eventually found out. She freaked out. It was like, I don't want you seeing Jack ever again. So then, I guess, on the night of September 13th, 1990, so we're jumping right to the night this happens, Dorothy would be passed out drunk as usual, because remember, like I said, apparently she was an alcoholic, and while passed out, Gina would apparently beat her mother in the head with a lead candlestick, and it took 13 blows, apparently, to kill her. So then she calls Jack for help. The story that they were supposed to give police was to make it seem like she committed suicide while drunk. Because, like, it does happen, but, like, the way y'all did it, it was a mess. So this girl somehow convinces Jack to stick a knife in her mother's neck instead of doing it herself. He leaves, and she calls police, like, hey, my mom had killed herself, pretty much. So the police arrive after, apparently they confront her saying, your story don't match up with what we got in this crime scene. So she changed her story saying Jack did it. And then she's told that she'll be charged with murder despite being 14. She changed her story again and says that she was abused and she was simply defending herself. So then Jack, of course, he got to be sentenced because, you know, he basically stuck the net. Even though it's believed that Gina technically killed Dorothy with the candlestick blows, Jack still like stabbed her in the neck. So obviously, imagine if those candlesticks didn't kill her. Technically, Jack would have killed her. So obviously, he still gets sentenced. He only gets sentenced to accessory after the fact, and is sentenced to a year. So I guess he must have like testified or took a plea deal because he was like a minor. So yeah, Jack gets out. He only served accessory after the fact and got less than a year. So he's out. Gina's convicted of voluntary manslaughter. Her family pled for her to attend a school for troubled teens in Boston. The judge somehow granted it, and within 6 weeks, the family wanted nothing to do with her, and she was living on her own despite being a minor. So then somehow she's able to basically lay low, and at 19 she's accepted into Harvard University just like her dad wanted. In her application, she actually claimed that she was an orphan and she was living on her own. She did say that her parents were dead, but held back the part by killing her mother, and basically said her mom actually died in a car crash instead of mentioning hey, I killed my mom. She did tell the truth about her dad dying when she was 11, so she told the truth about that. So of course, Gina, apparently being from a small town, this makes the local papers because Harvard's like a really good school to get into. So they're putting in the papers, bragging on hey, one of our kids and put the guy into Harvard, and somebody doesn't know who. This is anonymous. Someone says Harvard, because Harvard has their own personal newspaper. And they send Harvard these newspaper clippings of Dorothy's murder, and that Gina actually got arrested and she was responsible. She lied about being an orphan. And so, of course, Harvard decides to take back Gina's acceptance because lied. And apparently one of the questions was, have you ever served probation? And from the period she was released up until she was 18, she was on probation. So she lied about that. But if you were on probation, you also had to put why are you on probation? And at that point, she pretty much would have to confess that she killed her mom, because I'm pretty sure Harvard should have done some background checks. But apparently, since she had done probation and she wasn't doing nothing bad while on probation, her record was sealed. But because those newspaper articles existed, that's why she got kicked out of Harvard. So just to be safe, apparently Columbia and Barnard colleges also withdraw their acceptance. So not Ivy League, but apparently the pretty good colleges also. And Tufts University in Bedford, Massachusetts was still willing to take Gina despite knowing the truth. And this is only because she didn't lie about anything in their application. And apparently she accepted to be with them because hey, you got to take what you can get. They already know the full truth. They accept me for who I am. And they said she already served her time. She did probation. She's apparently changed. So we'll take her. So she goes in. Apparently she goes in to be the freshman class of 1990. So I assume that means she would graduate 1994, maybe 95, because they didn't say what she wanted to go to college for. It's safe to assume she graduated, and that's pretty much it. We don't have any information of Gina that I can find past her getting accepted into Tufts University in 1990. There was some sources for a while saying that she had committed suicide after she got kicked out, but I feel like it would have said that if she had took her own life. Hence why you can't find anything on her now. She took her own life. That's why. And while part of me is that, okay, that would make sense, I feel like it would have said in the articles she definitely had taken her own life. Well, yeah, if anybody knows what happened to Gina Grant past 1990, definitely let me know. Because your girl's curious. We want to know. Is she even still alive? Did she graduate from Tufts University? How's she doing? So of course, if you want to know cases where daughters kill their mothers, which I don't think I've ever covered. I'm covering cases where women are killing their daughters, but as far as women killing their daughters, daughters killing their mothers, I don't think I've ever covered. If I have, I think it's probably the first case I've ever covered where a woman has actually killed her mother. And if I haven't, I guess I'll have a link for that down below. If you know any cases where a mother has killed her daughter, definitely let me know. Oh my gosh, a daughter has killed her mother, definitely let me know. I will have comments are always open. Again, sources down below as always. I think there's only 4, hence why this video is so short. Again, I apologize in advance. I wish I had more information. That being said, but shut my mouth and go watch one of my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!